he smashes the record.
It's the fastest lap ever in Formula One.
Montoya's average speed, 161 miles an hour, the quickest lap of all time. Now we could see the fastest race.
Probably next year is going to be beaten again, you know. It's pretty amazing how quick we went. It's, you know, about 2 seconds a lap quicker than last year, so it's pretty impressive, I gotta say.
Welcome to Monza, the temple of speed. Ferrari desperate to demonstrate their superiority at the last European race of their brilliant season. Hello there, good afternoon. It never rains at the Italian Grand Prix. Today, race day, absolutely no exception. Perfect day, 22 degrees and rising. Tony and Mark are with me. Mark, we probably need a tweak of excitement this afternoon. Your man Montoya could just do it for us, and Monza seems to be his manner.
I think he's going to do it. I really do. I mean, this suits his style, and you know, the twinkle in his eye. I think it's going to be all there today.
What did you detect in his eye when you shared a lift with him this morning?
Well, he was bright. The old white teeth were flashing as usual, smiling away. He said he had a great night's sleep, and he was really going for it today, and I'm sure he will be.
This is the only Grand Prix that he's ever won, and last year he was denied his celebrations post-September the 11th, and everything very subdued, very low-key, Mark.
Yeah, very low-key. Obviously, circumstances beyond anybody's control on that point. But, you know, he has got a win under his belt here. He knows how to win around this circuit. The team know how to operate the strategy here, and it's going to stand him in good stead for this afternoon's race.
No champagne on that podium. He has got an open bottle of champagne at his apartment in Monaco, but he knows the man he's got to beat here is Michael Schumacher, 3 times a Monza winner and a winner last time out at Spa, the only driver to win 10 times in a single season. And Michael Schumacher absolutely determined to come here and put on a show for the Tifosi, the home fans. He is hungry, he is highly motivated, Michael Schumacher. 5 world titles and counting, 63 Grand Prix victories. This his 175th Grand Prix, by the way. He has won 71% of this year's races. For most of the season, we've admired the precision and the reliability of the Ferrari, plus, of course, the Germans' driving excellence. And on the way, we've enjoyed a series of very tasty incidents.
Montoya's lost his front wing. Yes, he says, I'm going to win this Grand Prix.
Look how hard Raikkonen's trying.
Michael Schumacher, very much the man. Tony, red domination equals boredom. Discuss.
No, we've had a season of dominance, to be fair, but showing that they've had some spectacular action, and Formula One is still spectacular, but it doesn't mean that you can't have changes to make it even better. What I'm saying is the sport has to decide whether it's a high-tech operation, a big essay just for high tech, or whether it's about entertainment and sport and driving skill. And therefore I believe you have to make cuts. You have to make cuts in the aerodynamics, you have to have cuts in the electronic gizmos and cuts in testing. That will give, I believe, a lot of the action back, but it will also help in terms of budgets, in terms of scales of economy, because it is 30% down on the monies you could get 2 years ago. It'll help the middle teams, it'll help the smaller teams.
How concerned are the drivers about Formula One as a spectacle at the moment then, Mark?
I think there is a lot of concern. I think the drivers are, you know, thinking about that kind of thing all the time. But, you know, from a pure driver's perspective, we want more involvement in the cockpit. We want more involvement in terms of actual racing on the circuit. You know, lower formulas, you learn all your racecraft, all your experience you gain. And the higher you go up the ladder and you get to F1, you hardly get to use it. And it really is a little bit of an issue now. You know, we want to see some of that racing back there. I certainly, you know, would love to see more of it. I know a lot of the guys in the paddock would.
Tony, how crucial is it that the sport doesn't sit back and just say, it's all right, it'll sort itself out in time, that it does actually make changes?
Well, it is crucial it does that, Jim, because I believe that the top teams are sitting protecting their investment, saying there's nothing wrong, there are no changes necessary. I believe they are necessary now in this particular case. They've got to have long-term vision. I believe Bernie has that long-term vision and looking at the sport from afar and ahead. But what he has to do is the teams have to vote for all those changes. They're not even discussing them at the moment. We're trying to urge them to start discussing it before it's too late. We're competing with all the other sports around the world, and this is a fabulous sport. We want to keep it that way and make it even better.
If you could make one technical change, if you were, let's say, Bernie Ecclestone or Max Mosley, what would that be then?
I think from my point of view, I'd probably go with Tony, and I'd say let's cut down some of the aerodynamics. I think the aero side of things is such a strong element now in car design, and it's just reduced the amount of issues that come out of the car. You just can't get to race them, and that's what we want to see. Just
to let you know, we're going to take a close look at one of those gizmos, launch control, a little bit later on. But let's just check back at qualifying, shall we? And first of all, by looking at Ralf Schumacher. Doesn't like the place, but he flew round in qualifying.
He's got a great record here as well. He's had 4 podiums here. He's superb, and scintillating performance from him, and of course the BMW engine.
I just wanted to explain 19,000 revs per minute, Tony. Just explain that to people out there that might not know.
Well, that's some sort of a mechanical record, I think, because your average car will rev to 5,000 or 6,000. But imagine the movement of the mechanical parts, the pistons thumping away, crashing away. It's incredible to do that. So they've broken a barrier there. And of course, more revs mean more power, but more use of fuel, isn't it?
And Montoya enjoying every second of that 19,000 plus revs engine.
Unbelievable. I mean, he certainly made the most of it throughout the qualifying session. His qualifying lap here, what he achieved, brought him up to a very respectable time, put him on the front row of the grid. But he knew there was a lot more left in there, for sure. And we were all looking at a 20.5 lap to be, an ultimate lap there. It's been standing for a very long time in terms of the fastest lap ever done in a Formula 1 car. This man has got to that point of achieving it, and that stands with him well. But forgetting all that, all put aside, the afternoon win is what he's really looking forward to.
But you've driven round here. I mean, what does it mean for someone to go round here at an average speed of over 160 miles an hour?
It's an achievement, I have to tell you. I mean, it's certainly man and machine, and to go and do that and to see it on the stopwatch, see it in the car, everybody's reaction, it's a great feeling. But to know that you are the fastest man on the streets today, what more can you say?
Big crowd in here to see those Ferraris. Rubens Barrichello, he's got a little bit of Italian blood in him, Italian granddad, I think, and he had a lot of problems in morning practice and put them right in qualifying.
Yeah, they lost an engine, and he actually didn't do that many laps. Did a particularly good job actually putting himself in the second row, keeping the strength there for Ferrari. This man here achieved what he needed to do. He wanted to be on the front row. He needs to get into that first corner, that chicane there in front of Montoya. Whether that's the case, we'll have to wait and see. The
qualifying session was hit late on. There was a red flag, big crash involving Kimi Raikkonen, Jordan's Japanese driver, Takuma Sato, and Raikkonen takes the blame for this.
You can see how narrow the track is at the edges there, and this is very reminiscent of the accident in '97 Ralf Schumacher had when he hit Johnny Herbert. And Raikkonen said that he didn't see him. He'd been told by the team he was probably going in very soon. But the stewards decided, after video evidence, that Kimi Raikkonen was to blame, and that's what Mark said yesterday, so they backed him up.
You were absolutely clear-cut as soon as that happened, Mark. Just briefly, that one was down to the fin.
Clear cut from my point of view, from driver's point of view, sitting in that car, you've got 2 wing mirrors there, use them.
Yeah, well, let's have a little word with Takuma Sato. He's had his moments, hasn't he, this season, but absolutely blameless on this occasion.
He was told by McLaren team one Jordan car is coming, but maybe he confused I was coming in lap or something. But even so, as a driver, if you're out lap, you have to attention the mirror more than normally. And I was clearly, it's long enough time to have a look. I was there, and I was obviously at a lap, so really disappointed.
He's disappointed. He is down the back of the grid. Tony, let's start at the front.
Oh, Montoya, the record breaker, can he get off the line ahead of Michael Schumacher? Schumacher out-qualified, but he doesn't want to be outgunned in Ferrari's backyard. Ralf Schumacher made a mistake at the Lesmo. Rubens, of course, not a lot of track time. Irvine, no criticism of the car whatsoever. Elevated ahead of Raikkonen, he pushed down to 6th there. Coulthard, problem with the balance between the 2 chicanes. De La Rosa had to take the spare. Villeneuve using the only qualifying Honda engine. Salo says the car will be better on full tanks. Truly got a tow from his teammate Button. Fisichella struggling with grip. 13th there, McNish making some fine-tuning. Alongside him, Sauber driver Massa and Heidfeld struggling getting tyres up to temperature. Panis a balance problem. Button says the car doesn't suit the circuit. Salter, we know why he's down in 18th. 19th, Mark Webber. 20th, Alex Young. Happy to be back on a Formula One grid. 20 start, no arrows.
I don't think you're ever that confident to get pole, but I think things were looking quite good. I think the most important thing is trying to think about second in the championship and try to get some points off Rubens.
The car felt good. I mean, it was just a situation that it was a bit, the tires were coming on the second lap. I flat spot the first lap, so I lost a little bit out, but I'm not too bad. I'm quite pleased with the situation. The car looks good for tomorrow, and overtaking is possible in Monza.
Pole position for your teammate, but couldn't quite make it yourself. Is that disappointing?
In a way it's disappointing, but the speed was there. Once I made a mistake in the third run, and then we had the red flag, which didn't allow me to improve my time again.
Spa was an early present here. We've done probably a little bit better than even we thought we could do. Indianapolis, we should be looking reasonably good there as well. And then Suzuka, well, I normally go reasonably well there, so it should be a good finish to the season.
The change is the great thing of life. I mean, one race to be maybe a bit dominant, the next race to fight, never to know what to expect.
Does it make a difference being this circuit, a place with such history?
But I think the best thing about winning here would be beating Ferrari is in their home ground.
Yeah, he wants a big away win at Monza, just outside of Milan. Juan Pablo Montoya has really thrown down the gauntlet this afternoon. His 161 miles an hour average, a new all-time qualifying record. 151's the race record set over 30 years ago by Peter Gethin's BRM. Monza's introduced chicanes in the meantime. Next experience of flying up now. We're going to hitch a ride with the 5-times world champion.
Let's have a look at the circuit with the front row qualifier Michael Schumacher on board the Ferrari, up to 224 miles per hour down the pit straight. Keep to the left-hand side, ready for the Rettifilio, the first chicane. Bang, down 5 gears to just 40 miles an hour. Whoa, the back end's got away. Hang on to it, Michael. We survived that one into the Curva Grande. The car automatically changing up through the gears at the optimum revs to 7, and once again 215 miles per hour under the bridge for the braking zone for the second chicane, down to just 50 miles an hour, shortcutting the curbs wherever you can get away with it. Now the first Lesmo, 160 miles an hour, down to 100 for the apex. Now again another short straight to the second Lesmo, 95 this time. Watch the curb on the exit. You have to max out, but don't touch the gravel. Building up then to 210 miles an hour under the bridge, under the old racetrack, through the shadow of the trees. The sun's glaring in your eyes. Ascari chicane, 90 miles an hour on the way through. Look how tight it is. Schumacher on full throttle, but the electronics controlling the amount of power. Stay to the right-hand side to miss the worst of the bumps, and then gently bring it to the left for Parabolica. You're doing 210 miles an hour, but now, within 100 metres, halve that speed, down 3 gears to the apex, straight back on the throttle for the exit. 150 miles an hour already. Nothing more you can do now on this lap apart from nail that throttle pedal to the floor. It's a good lap, but not good enough to beat Montoya.
Younger brother Ralph, by the way, has gone quickest in morning warm-up. Now let's focus at the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Do you remember last year Michael Schumacher tried to orchestrate an orderly procession? It didn't work. The racing instincts all took over. Just have a look at that. Over half the field going across that chicane there. They won't be able to do it this time round because there are sleeping policemen to stop it. But now let's join Ted Kravitz to have a look at that 200-mile-an-hour dash to Rettifilio.
Sitting comfortably, and let's begin. Go! Williams and Ferrari head the Monza grid yet again. The start has become the most crucial part of the race weekend and is now decided by who has the best electronics. Computer boffins can now win the race for the drivers, like McLaren did at Monaco to ensure David Coulthard would lead at the first corner.
what they had done is analysed the start times of other cars from previous Grand Prix, and they'd used the TV footage to work out what they felt the average start for the Williams was. So based on that information, they were quite confident that the distance I had from the second place on the grid to the first corner was a great enough distance to get my car alongside the Williams.
Each car has a different method, but they all need to tell the computer what's going on. Trulli does this by selecting first gear and pressing the white button. That arms the system. He gives it full throttle, but look at the top of the steering wheel. He gets the red lights just like we see at the start. His right hand then flicks the gear lever and he's off. Ralf Schumacher gets the system ready by pressing the orange button. The dash readout confirms the Williams is in automatic mode, 100% throttle, and with the left thumb presses the go button. The Sauber's launch seems unnecessarily complicated. Heidfeld has to take his right hand off the steering wheel to arm the system before putting it back on to launch. The team who's got it seriously right is Renault. Jenson Button gained 4 places off the line at Silverstone. It's the best launch control in Formula One.
What we can look at is what is theoretically the best way of treating the tyres, because this is really what you're talking about, to get the maximum traction force. But it requires some quite precise measurements in really a very difficult situation. A stationary car, there are lots of things you want to measure that aren't actually happening yet, and that's something that needs considering.
Rival engineers say Renault's secret is that they ride the clutch better than anyone else. They can find just the right bite point and don't have to use much traction control to cut wheel spin. They have a short first gear and a very torquey engine. It gives lots of gradual grunt, which gives better acceleration. This wizardry has taken a lot of skill away from the drivers. Not all are happy about it.
The last year and a half before the launch control, we had worked on the clutch and on everything on the car, and we were generally getting four position start. So I was very unhappy when it happened, but it's just the same for everybody.
Launch control makes a big difference for the race strategy. So sometimes we have to take in account on what we can do just after the start.
The quicker you can react to the light and get your finger off the button, then obviously that has a real-time advantage if you can have quick reactions.
And is there anything you do to maximise your reaction times?
No, I practice my starts, and I think it's all part of what you do as a Grand Prix driver.
David actually hones his reactions on a mock-up of his steering wheel. It's attached to a simulator that analyses how quickly he presses the buttons. Launch control is a technological marvel, but many think it a shame that the drivers don't need to be as clever as their systems.
Launch control, another gizmo, Tony. Jacques Villeneuve doesn't like it, do you?
Not at all. I'm afraid that's a race for the software engineers. I mean, that's a race for technology. What does is take away from the driver's skill, one of their elementary skills. This guy here learned how to make a proper start, how to get the car off the line, coordination, clutch control, the whole thing. And of course, things can go right and they can go wrong.
Well, Mark, you've never driven with launch control. Do you look at those pictures and say, I wish I had some of that?
It's a real sort of fine balance. You've got technology on one hand, and you want to be involved in that as a driver because it's interesting, but you've also got the challenge and the skills you can use to actually get off the grid, as Tony says. I don't know, I wouldn't want to go back to running a 120 processor in my computer ever again, but maybe I want to get some of the enjoyment of starting the grid, in the normal process.
Briefly, Tony, it's there. They surely can't get rid of it.
No, you can't. You'd have to get rid of everything. This has been the problem before, how to police it. Not being able to police it, which is why all the gizmos are still here.
Okay, well, here we are then at Monza. Monza was the scene of Eddie Jordan. Jordan's last victory. Heinz-Harald Frentzen winning here in '99. Looks like a tough afternoon for Eddie. He's had a few of those since he started out at a garage at Silverstone, powered by Ford. Eddie wearing pretty fashionable glasses for 1990 as well. Let's meet the boss. Louise Goodman joins him at home in Oxford.
Right then, Lou.
7:30 on a misty morning and Eddie Jordan hits the streets of Oxford. It's a stress-free start to an otherwise hectic day. Takes you down to the river, doesn't it?
This is the school. This is where all the kiddies went to school at one stage, at Dragon. And, it's great for a run in the morning, and it's down by the river in the Cherwell, which goes onto the Thames. Pretty special.
The family moved to Oxford in 1988, shortly after Eddie's team won the British F3 Championship. A former racer, EJ has always been a driven man.
It's so important that we do so much sitting behind desks and so much stress and tension that this kind of exercise is invaluable. And I love it, apart from the fact it's fresh morning, kids are back at school in Oxford. Well, it's one of the nicer places that you could contemplate running for half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever it is, and it does set you up for the day.
Eddie successfully combines his role as businessman with that of family man. He has 4 children with wife Marie. The 2 eldest girls are at university. The boys attend a boarding school nearby. But they were enjoying the last few days of their summer holidays when I joined Eddie for a typically lively family breakfast.
Have I got your chair for once then, Mum? I am the head of the household. This never happens normally.
Oh, fair enough.
The boys, we're the minnows here. The mummy is the matriarch. She runs the show.
So what's he like to live with?
How long have you got?
Come on, let's have a hear of this. I'm very interested.
Yeah, because he gets us all the nice, massive houses and everything. That's it.
That's your dad's contribution to your life.
Yeah. It's good for sending out to work and bringing home with the money, is that it?
Yeah.
Remind me never to bring you anywhere I'm going publicly.
And what's the worst? Oh, this is dangerous territory. What's the worst?
His moustache, isn't it?
Actually, that's not bad though if your worst thing is your moustache.
Yeah, exactly. We could have had a lot worse.
You don't think it makes me look dignified or sort of a bit different? Do I look like Ron Dennis?
Yeah, you look a bit like David Beckham.
Oh, that's okay. That's pretty cool.
Eddie hasn't always been so noted for his sartorial elegance. Born in Bray, Ireland 54 years ago, he began his professional life working in a bank, but even as a youngster he always had his eye out for a deal. Formula One has brought Jordan wealth beyond his wildest teenage dreams, but he claims the luxuries that affords him are not his motivation.
Strange thing it may seem, I'm not sure a lot of people would want to believe this, but I think the money itself means little or nothing. The success of doing the deal is the vital thing. I have to get the buzz. I am a salesperson. I have to present a package. I have to try and make the best results on the track, whether it's an engine or whether it's a driver, or whether it's staff or whether it's sponsorship. They're all little missions and I have to be successful. For me to feel good, it's not how much money is there, it's how good the deal is or how I've managed to be able to get behind that and all the different obstructions that perhaps appear. I've got to make sure I get over those.
Was it easy to get serious after all the years of Jordan being the fun team?
I would never say we were never not serious, and I would also say we were never not fun. Even to this day, one of the things that gives me the most pleasure is being able to have the band. I enjoy that so much. The fact that we can do some charity things, that we can now give something back. The band itself, I'm absolutely pleased because I think it's great. Formula One is about entertainment. Well, it's supposed to be, and music is the same. So I don't see a big difference between those two things. So the seriousness and the fun thing, I can interlink them quite easily, and I can flow from one to the other without ever even thinking that it's happening.
What about the long term? Do you want to sort of give it all up and sail around the world with Marie, or do you think you're going to die at your desk?
I clearly don't know that. I mean, this was such a coup to do this deal with Ford. I'm extremely pleased about it. That gives us a 3-year window. It means, I believe, with the way it's structured, that we can take on the really big boys again. I always tell the people when we're talking, we're successful on 2 counts, or not, as the case may be, one on the racetrack and the other in the balance sheet, and one is equally dependent on the other. If you have a good track time, you usually make the balance sheet easier. If you have a good balance sheet, it makes the racing easier. It doesn't, it's not defying logic. It's real. It's basic economics, and that's how it works. So I have to find the money, and the more pressure I've got to get it, almost the better I like it. Keeps me out of harm's way as well. Marie's always happy when I've got confusion.
Eddie Jordan, David Beckham look-alike. I can't see that one myself. Anyway, email time now when we respond to some of the questions you've posed on the ITV F1 website. Now then, both the Sauber drivers, Nick Heidfeld and Felipe Massa, are wearing the head and neck safety device called HANDS. And Shane Malley from County Cork asks for an explanation. Mark Blundell has been getting his head round the answer.
Well, Shane, you're quite right. The HANDS device is in use this weekend by Sauber. HANDS stands for head and neck safety. We're very lucky that we've got Professor Sid Watkins here. He's going to explain to us how the system actually works. Sid, we've got the device here with the helmet attached. What actually happens in the event of an accident?
The yoke fits on the shoulders. The vertical component
will limit the forward flexion of the head in a frontal accident, and by so doing reduces the forces in the head and in the neck to acceptable levels.
Okay. Well, we know that some of the guys had some comfort problems. The Sauber team have overcome that. But remember, this system is compulsory for next year.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you very much indeed. By the way, if you've got any thoughts about the Italian Grand Prix that's going to be starting in 25 minutes' time, be sure to email the studio and we'll do our best to reflect some of your questions after the race. Okay, Wednesday lunchtime, the live website chat on the ITVF1.com is with Gunther Steiner, the managing director of Jaguar Racing. Here's a much-loved and very familiar figure. Louise is there as well, of course. It's Jean Alesi, a man who's been on pole here at Monza. On you go, Lou.
You're dead right, Jim. Definitely one of my all-time favourite racing drivers. Jean, it's lovely to see you here. When you come to a place like Monza, does it make you really miss Formula One?
Not only in Monza, all the time, because I love Formula One and I'm completely still in love of this series. So that's why to be here in Monza, it's even more special because with the fans, and it's something I miss.
You were always a big hero here. Do you still get a fantastic reaction when you come to Italy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my family is from Sicily, so that's help. But the fans always remember, and that makes me always feeling good.
What do you think is going to happen today? Do you think Montoya can win this race?
It's a good question, but everybody is waiting for a competition and to see the Williams on the top, and the McLaren not very far away. That means the race will be very interesting, and we are all here to see a racing with overtaking.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Sean. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Racing with overtaking, that will do us absolutely fine. I'm not sure he gave her a nice kiss on both cheeks there. I don't think he actually said whether Montoya could win the race or not. Jean hedging his bets a little bit there. Well, there's going to be a new venue for the paddock in 2004. Bahrain's going to stage a Grand Prix, and there have been a couple of alterations in next year's calendar as well.
Next year's Hungarian Grand Prix has been moved to make way for a 3-week break in the calendar. F1 team bosses were angry that their one chance of a week off had been scrapped, so they convinced the FIA to shift Budapest to August 24th, with Belgium now just 7 days later. The rest of the calendar should now be confirmed when the FIA meets in October. Another no-show from Arrows here at Monza has been followed by rumours that the factory is soon to close and the staff laid off. So while one team is on the out, another might be on the way in. Engine company Asiatech has revealed a model of an F1 car they want to build. Now they just need a team to tie up with. And congratulations go to Mr. and Mrs. Ralf Schumacher, who tied the knot for the second time last Saturday in Austria. Michael was best man and much fun was had by all.
And finally, this is where Ralf Schumacher is hoping to end up today. It's the funky new podium at Monza. It's the first one in the world to be built over the pit lane and extended, almost overhanging the track. The idea is to get the fans much closer to the action, to cheer on the guys who finished 1, 2, 3. The only question now is, who's going to be on that top step?
We'll find out soon. The funky Ted Kravitz there. Well, one of the delights of coming to the Italian Grand Prix is the wide variety of outstanding restaurants in the vicinity. One team, though, aren't satisfied. They brought in their own master chef. Here's Beverly Turner.
The Formula One paddock is a very special place. Mechanics mixed with VIPs, the hospitality is second to none. And this weekend, one of the teams is laying on a very special treat, courtesy of a famous face who knows a thing or two about food. Hidden away at the back of the Jordan motorhome is Mr. Gary Rhodes. Good to see you.
Hi.
What are you doing today? Tell us.
Trying to find more space in this kitchen of mine. That's what I'm doing. You know, you can imagine coming in here and I've got to cook for all these people. Well, I'm going to do a nice little menu for them this evening.
Yeah.
We're just going to have a really nice leek and parmesan risotto, and then some chicken with sweet peppers, tomatoes, Swiss cheese, little aubergine, followed by English Eton mess.
Fantastic.
Not bad.
I've got to say, these conditions, they're not great, are they?
The thing is, what I'm used to doing is standing here and calling around to a brigade of 15 cooks behind me, you know, and screaming out, bring me the onions, bring me... And now I'm just getting a reflection, so I look around and keep my head down now. But you just have to get on with it, don't you? You're in a situation, I thought, how on earth am I going to feed 60 people, you know, from a little kitchen like this? But you just have to get on with it. If you're a chef, get your head down and cook. So.
Do you need a hand?
I do, there's loads of washing up. Right, stir that risotto, Jen.
Well, I've left Gary slaving away in a hot kitchen, and I'm here in the garage now to find out what the team think. Tim, your team manager, working very hard here. Do this lot deserve a good meal on these weekends?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they work very long hours, so it's important they're fed well. Not quite tender enough yet, so a little touch longer, and they're going to be lovely.
Gary's a huge fan of Formula One, so we thought we'd get him along so that he could do what he does best, cook for us so we can enjoy his food, but also that he can come and enjoy the Formula One race here in Monza.
I think he's going to struggle to beat what we normally have.
Do you think?
I think so. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see.
It's like actually being in the Grand Prix. There we are, you know, you're in pole position and you're about to take off and you're waiting for those lights to go out. I'm waiting for everybody to come and actually bomb the canteen and say, where is it, Rhodes, where is it?
Gary, you've been in here all day. There's a lot of hungry people out there now. How are you doing?
Just about there now. I thought at one point, you know, I was going to get a little bit behind, but here we are. We're ready to go. Just finishing off.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Oh, the hero! Ladies and gentlemen, very sad, a Ferrari fanatic.
What?
And Britain's #1 chef, Gary Rhodes.
In Italy we say buonissimo, which means it was very, very good.
Great. I mean, it's not too rich, obviously. It's need for the driver, you know, for the weekend, but this is great.
So what better way to start an Italian Grand Prix weekend than with a slap-up feast? And having been here all day, I think it's only polite that I sample the final product. Thank you.
And be sure to log on to the ITV F1 website later this week for Gary's recipe. We're going to be right back at Monza. We will predict race strategy. How about those Ferraris? Are they going to stop twice and preserve their brakes? And anything can happen when Martin Brundle walks the grid. Monza's the heartbeat of Italian motor racing. I remember after Montoya's maiden victory here last year, Patrick Head at Williams told us one stop is the best way to go. Ferrari, they tried to, could do so again. Here's Ted.
Yes, Jim, it is very tight between a one and a two-stop round Monza. Sam, have you been working under the assumption that Ferrari are going to two-stop this afternoon?
We'll do our strategy based on them doing either one or two-stop and possibly splitting it. I think there's quite a big chance that they'll actually split it between the two cars and put one of them on a one and one on a two. So either way, we're pretty sure of what strategy we're going to do. We've looked at the numbers. We spent a lot of time over the weekend and late last night deciding on any which possible combination Ferrari could do. We have to do something that suits our tyres and our car and our package, but based on what they could do as well. And we know what our best chance is to beat them.
You won this race on a one-stop last year. In a word, can you do it again this year?
I think we've got a good chance of winning. I'm not saying that we would necessarily do a one-stop, and I think it's quite open here. It's going to be pretty close, and you can see from the warm-up running that it could go either way.
Always a highlight of our racing weekend. It's Martin at the sharp end of the grid.
Hello, Jim. Hello, everybody. Well, what do you want to know? This is not a foregone conclusion at all this afternoon. Take it from me. Complete and utter pandemonium down here. The big band's just walked on at the front. I have absolutely no idea what they're kind of adding to the show at the moment, except and I can't even hear myself speak. This is Montoya's car. This is the car that did the fastest ever qualifying lap in Formula One, breaking a 17-year-old record. Montoya's not up for a chat, I know. Let's just wander over in that direction. But the big story today is how much fuel has this car got on board, and will those Michelins blister at all? Blistering is a big issue. I'm going to ask. I know he's going to say no, but I'm going to ask him if he's up for a chat or not. Juan Pablo. He's talking about it going on oversteer and all that sort of thing, and they're already talking about whether the back end is going to go away. Any chance? He's sure? Top man. He doesn't want to. I knew he wouldn't, but I had to ask him for us, didn't I? Over here then is the Ferrari. The big story here is how much fuel can they get in that car? Can they really do a successful one-stop strategy? And will their tyres last? There's been a lot of blistering on the Bridgestones as well this weekend. And I really got to ask this man here, Ross Brawn. Ross, can you do a one-stop strategy if you want to?
Yes.
And what is the chance then of you probably doing putting one car on a 1 and one car on a 2?
There's a chance.
And would that, to counteract Williams, do you feel you're racing Williams today and you've really got to work your strategy out according to them? You can't just run away and hide today, can you?
No, that's true. We've got a tough race today. It's a track where they're very strong, their tyres working well. So it will be a real race today. We won't be as fortunate as we have been the last few races. So it's going to be a race of tactics. I think there's going to be plenty of controversy because drivers missing chicanes and whether they have an advantage or they don't have an advantage, all that sort of stuff. So I think it's going to be a good race.
Rear Bridgestone's going to blister?
No, this new tyre is very good. Very good.
OK, thanks a lot. See if we can find a driver. And let's wander down here. Ralf Schumacher then in 3rd on the grid. Rubens Barrichello down here in 4th. He's had a dismal weekend in terms of reliability. Here's a man always happy to talk to the British public. Rubens, we always seem to catch you while you're poking things in your ears. You've had a difficult weekend. How's it looking for the race?
I've always had a good car. I mean, but for one reason or the other, I mean, the brakes and then the engine, I couldn't really put myself where I would like to be. But the car is fantastic. I mean, in the warm-up, it looked very good.
Now, can you get enough fuel in this Ferrari to do a one-stopper if you want to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Williams seems to think that we cannot, but we can, yeah, no problem.
Oh, well, that's twice I've heard it now from the same team, so it must be true. And you, what have you got to do today to win this race?
I mean, I got to play a little bit. I mean, we got to be safe on the first corner because we know, I mean, we saw the 3000, but then it's attack.
Yeah, what do you mean play a little bit? You mean you got to maybe have a go at them early on?
Yeah, I mean, we have the tyres working quite well at the beginning, so we got to have a go.
Good luck. Okay, let's wander over and a little bit further down the grid. I'm delighted to say Jaguar having another cracking weekend. And let's see if we can poke our nose in here. Ed, you're up for a chat? Yeah. So another stonking weekend for you then. Your cars look quick in testing, quick all through. What can you do this afternoon?
We see. You never know. I think we're on the right tyres, that's for sure. The engine's very strong this weekend. We got a new engine and it's flying. And Monza's all about engine and tyres. And
you'd not any chance of blistering these rear Michelins?
Not in our car, we don't think anyway. You know, it's a lot hotter, but I think there's no problem there.
Now you've had a bit of a spat in the press with DC, who's just behind you on the grid. You'll be watching out for him in your mirrors?
You always have to watch out. You know, McLaren's, they're not very happy being behind a Jaguar, that's for sure. So they're going to be pushing, but DC's one of the more sensible guys out there.
Well, after reading your stuff, do you think he'll still think like that?
We're only having fun.
Yeah, I know. OK, we'll have a great race, and we've got to go back to the studio.
And we're looking to have a lot of fun during the Italian Grand Prix as well. A real race, plenty of controversy, Ross Brawn saying. That sounds the business. That'll do for us, Tony?
Absolutely. Also, they've got to watch their brakes. They've got to watch how fragile they're going to be in various areas. Very low downforce, very fast. I think it's going to be a great spectacle.
Well, 200 miles an hour down to 50. That is the recipe for the first corner. Jaguars and Irvine hungry for points. Highly focused Montoya. Will he dent Ferrari's celebrations in their own backyard again? And are we about to see the fastest Grand Prix ever? Forza Ferrari. That's the fans' anthem. The Williams will have something to say about it, though, in the Italian Grand Prix.